I need some water. Hang on. That was all out of water. Greetings, fellow Trinity time and space. This is your host, TheAmariaShadow, and welcome back to the channel. And welcome back once again to more of Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy. We're going to be continuing where we last left off in the last live stream, and we're going to be completing episode 3, Turnabout Serenade, today. So without further ado, let's get started right away to today's adventure and see what's in store for us. Allons-y! July 10th, 9:49 a.m., District Court, Defendant, Lobby number 2. Well, this is it! Today's the day it all goes down. And this meeting is over. Sorry. Just give us 5 more minutes. We can call them back after that. Sorry, no go. Come on, piano boy, we're leaving. Darian, wait! I never liked you. Either of you. Huh? Darn it! We were so close! He was about to tell us! Hey, Apollo. He didn't want us to hear what Maki had to say. And I think I know why. Time to bring down a little justice. Ah! What was that? He is heard but unseen. Who's that talking? Valid Grammare! I exclaimed as he walked in through the door. Normally. You aren't the witness today, are you, Uncle Valet? A preposterous proposition. How could I stand to stand upon the stand? Why, my secrets would be free for the plucking. I might even have to sign autographs. That is why I intend to remain hidden for the entire day. Ooh, with vanishing magic? Indeed. I will jump upon an express train and express myself to the next town over. But before I go, a word of warning. Warning? What? The Grand Grammare Glamour resides at the root of all that has happened. Do not forget this truth. A glamour? A spell, a sorcery, a great illusion. It's trucy, though it pains me to part so. I need to get in line for a ticket. Farewell! And there he goes. He sure seemed happy about that illusion thing. Oh, big illusions are the bread and butter of a magician. You can't pull off a show without one. The big illusion is always a spectacle to remember. Usually it involves cutting up things like people or elephants, or the Eiffel Tower, anything really. So he was talking about what we saw at the concert, Mother-Noroi's disappearing act, and Prosecutor Gavin's exploding guitar. I wonder what he meant by it being at the root of all that has happened. Well, it's about time. Shall we go? Ah, excuse me, sir. Yes? The scheduled starting time for the trial has been changed. The trial will not be commencing until 10:30 a.m. Sorry for the inconvenience. Huh? Did something happen? This is a first. It was by the judge's request. Some urgent personal business. Great. I bet he stayed up too late watching courtroom dramas. Apparently, he's visiting the hospital again. A hospital? I believe it was mentioned that the Chief Justice's son is unwell. Apparently, his condition worsened considerably this morning. The Chief Justice's son? Oh, that's right. Remember yesterday morning? The judge said he had to go visit him after the trial. There's an article about it in the newspaper. Would you care to read about it yourself? Incuritis? Where have I heard that before? I'll let you read that article for us, Apollo. Just leave the TV guide page to me. Try not to lose the page with the funnies if you can. July 10th, 10:30 a.m., District Court, Courtroom number 3. My apologies for the delay. Court is now in session for the trial of, how do you say this name again? Maki Tobaye, or suspect Sportissimo. Right? It's his trial in any case. The defense is prepared, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready to rock. Is something wrong, Your Honor? No, well, yes. It's just, I've been friends with the Chief Justice since we were students. It pains me to see him going through such a difficult time. Incuritis, was it? That article said there is no known cure. Judge, let me say, with all honesty, I feel your pain. But now is not the time for tears. Now is the time for law. Indeed. We left off at quite the juncture yesterday. I asked Interpol about that number. IPXX 314206. The agent registered under this name was Romain Lettuce. Thanks for looking into that for us, Detective Crescent. It's a great help. Oh, no problem at all, Your Honor. I'll be heading now. Wait! That voice just now. It was him. I am sure of it. It was him? That voice I heard, talking to Mr. Lettuce. When I heard the gunshots fired, it was him! It was Mr. Darien! No way! Quite a sensational ending. Who would have thought Darien would guest star in the season cliffhanger as a suspect? I asked the prosecution to look into this matter. Please tell the court your findings. Darien Crescent is a member of my band, the Gaviniers. He is also a detective, making the current charge a serious indeed. Yet after investigation, I have found no cause to alter our case or file new charges. And your reason is? Weren't you aware, Air Forehead? He has an impeccable alibi. An alibi? Let us review the facts again, shall we? The concert held on the night of the shooting was in 3 sets. The Gaviniers ripped up the stage during the first set. For the second set, our guest took center stage. The only performers appearing were myself, Mother-Noroi, and Maki, along with a drummer and a bassist, for a total of 5. The shooting in the dressing room, however, took place during the third set. Mother-Noroi and the defendant, Maki Tomoya, had left the stage at that point, and the Gaviniers were already rocking. This is when 2 shots rang out at the scene of the crime. Shots heard by Detective Emma Sky, mind you. And Apollo, you heard them too, right? I sure did. Furthermore, Mother-Noroi herself witnessed the moment of the crime. Well, perhaps I should say she heard the moment of the crime, where she claims to have heard Mr. Lettuce and Detective Crescent talking. But that's impossible! Detective Crescent was... Precisely. Detective Crescent was on stage, getting his groove on, no less. Voila! A perfect alibi! Does the defense have anything to add to this? It's true. When I heard those gunshots, he must have been on stage. Still, there's something here that doesn't quite add up. It appears the defense has no objection. I believe we can safely say that Darien Crescent's alibi has been acknowledged, which means that Mother-Noroi was sadly mistaken. Her testimony cannot be true. Very well. Of course, if we disregard her testimony, then I see no evidence keeping us from declaring a verdict, if indeed there are no objections. Uh-oh, Apollo. If he declares a verdict now... Ah! The prosecutor Gavin's case is airtight! Mother-Noroi might have been lying to protect Maki. How can I rely on her testimony? Wait, what about yesterday in the detention center? About the case? What about the case? He wants to tell us about Mr. Lettuce's death? This meeting's over. Darien? Maki... Best thing to do is ask him. Under oath. Very well, the court finds the defendant, or what was his name again? Something like Marquis, or Mr. Justice? Your Honor, before you declare a verdict, I would like to call another witness. Exactly who else do you need to hear from? A witness who, until now, has not been given a chance to speak at this court. Because he doesn't speak English. You don't mean I do. The defense calls defendant Maki Tomoya to the stand. What? But he doesn't speak English! We'll use an interpreter. Interpreter? I'm afraid you'll have to look elsewhere. I only speak a few phrases, such as I love you and where's the toilet. The defense would like to request Mother-Noroi as the interpreter. Mother-Noroi? But there's a possibility she's protecting the defendant! So she'd be interpreted for the defendant. Why would she lie? This is most unusual. Bravo there, Forehead. Dear Judge, the prosecution agrees with the defense's request. If Mother-Noroi lies, I'll be able to tell. Even my limited knowledge of the language should be enough for that. Well, if both prosecution and defense are for this, I see little cause for refusal. Finally, some progress! Bailiff, please show the defendant and Mother-Noroi to the witness stand. I suppose there is a first time for everything. Shall we proceed? Your name to begin with, if you would, Mother-Noroi. Yes. He says Maki Tomoya, the defendant. This is certainly a first for this courtroom. Not that we really needed an interpretation of that message in particular. So far, so good. Very well. Mr. Justice, if you would. Huh? If I would what, Your Honor? Would what? You called the defendant to the stand, did you not? What would you have him testify about? What would I want him to testify about? Ah! I hadn't thought that far yet. Apollo! Aren't you going to ask him what he was about to tell us yesterday? How can I if I don't know what he was saying? Excuse me, a moment. If I might speak. Yes, let me roar. Just now, Maki said there is something about which he wishes to testify. Maki wants to testify about something? What could it be? What sort of testimony is he talking about? One moment, please. Ah! The suspense is killing me. What? 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 Well, Mother-Noroi, according to Maki, he has proof of his innocence. What? This is a surprise. Yahoo! Victory, Apollo! We did it! It's sounding too good to believe, and I know what that usually means. Well, if that's true, then this is vital testimony. Mother-Noroi, Maki, please testify to the court. Very well. He says that word of Mr. Letsus's death came as a great shock, but if the killing truly followed the lyrics of my song, that is, he could not have done it. He says that because the lyrics are in English, he does not understand them. I see. He wouldn't have understood the English lyrics to the song. That would prevent him from following them so closely. I wondered what he meant by proof. Why, he would only have to ask Mother-Noroi to know the meaning of that song. Mother-Noroi? Did you ever explain the lyrics of that song to him? I did tell him generally what the song was about, but never in so much detail, and he never asked. Has my oft-repeated warning already fled that forehead? Mother-Noroi might be protecting the witness. Well, anyway, let us proceed with the cross-examination. Mr. Justice, if you would. Yes, Your Honor. Something's hidden in that testimony, I know it. I'll just have to trust my bracelet to tell me where. It worked yesterday, it'll work today. Maki, you can't fool my eyes. You glanced toward her the very moment Mother-Noroi said the word English. Why? And don't bother interpreting that. He understands me. Maki, tell the truth. You can understand English, can't you? What are you saying? Of course he can't! Must he continue this charade? Mr. Justice, Maki says this. I know the word English. Huh? Before coming to this country, he heard me speaking English. He learned the name for this language, that is all. What? Give me a break! Is that such an unusual word to understand? Do you not know Espanol, for instance? Well, yeah, but... I am sorry, but he truly does not understand your language. Well, then explain this. How does he know the crime followed the lyrics? Have you always been such a suspicious-minded lad? It is simple. So simple it hardly requires an explanation. He read about it in the newspaper. The newspaper? The Virginian Daily Bugle. You can buy it in this country these days, you know. They have already begun to report about this case in our homeland. I was right! What is wrong, Mr. Justice? Your eyes, they are quite fierce all of a sudden. Maki is lying! Maybe it's time to show them proof that he's lying. I have here a Borginian newspaper, the Borginian Daily Bugle, as a matter of fact. Indeed, there is a feature article about the case. Could you read this for me, Maki? That's right, it doesn't mention the lyrics. What? What is this all about? I'm sorry, Maki. You couldn't have read about the lyrics in a Borginian newspaper. What does this mean? But I don't see how it's possible. I know. He must have heard the lyrics when the police were doing their questioning. Yes. Not possible. The subject of the lyrics was not brought up in police questioning. I read the full report myself. So the lyrics weren't in the newspaper. The police didn't mention them. The only place you could have heard them was in this courtroom. In English, no less. The witness will explain himself. Maki says, he says, yes? It is true I read the newspaper. This is not where I learned of the lyrics. I was mistaken. Now I remember. You remember? He says he heard of the lyrics from me. What? Is this true, Lamiro? Yes, I'm afraid I had forgotten it myself. It looks like Ed's forehead's been jumping to conclusions again. It seems so, yes. No, no! I was onto something, I know it! I can't let this chance slip away! Time is an issue today. Mr. Justice, are you finished with the cross-examination? What are you going to do, Apollo? If I'm going to keep on cross-examining, I'd better have an angle of attack. Or else! My bracelet's still reacting! Your Honor, please allow me to continue. If you must, you must. Very well. Witness? I understand.
Gotcha!
Lamiro, you're lying! Lamiro, I'm currently cross-examining Maki. Why should you be uncertain? Me? Uncertain? Yes, you swallowed the very moment you told the court. It was I who explained. I see there is little point in trying to hide anything from you. Lamiro, are you indeed protecting someone? That is not a question with a simple answer. To tell the truth, I do not believe it myself. And allow me to answer for you. Lamiro, you're protecting...
Take that!
Lamiro, you are protecting Maki. That's why you lied and told us that you had explained how the crime followed the song. I don't fault you for trying to help, but this is not the way. Maki, I believe you didn't do it, really. I trust you, but you've lied to us twice, and now you have Lamiro lying on your behalf. If this is going to work, you have to trust me too. Your two lies cover a simple truth. You understand English. You have to. Witness, is this true? Do you understand English? Yes, a little only. What? First he could see, now he could talk. And you, did not know about this, Lamiro? No, I did not. It is quite a surprise. How many secrets is this witness hiding? This is last. Maki, could you tell us what really happened? No shooting. I did no shooting. So you weren't in the dressing room when I heard those 2 gunshots, correct? Apparently the answer to that question isn't simple either. I was in dressing room, behind desk. Manager, he on floor. Which would be after the shooting, right? Then there is voice. Voice or voices? Was it you and Emma, Apollo? So when Maki went into the dressing room, Mr. Latus had already been shot. And then we came to the door. Panel high up. I take off. Run away. Run away. So it was you who escaped through that air vent. As the prosecution has upheld all along, no less. The defendant has admitted to being at the scene. Might we take this as a confession? No, he's clearly denied that he did it. I know shooting. Manager on floor. Already on floor. The victim had already been shot, you say. I find that hard to believe. The defendant understood the song lyrics. He was at the scene of the crime. This can only mean one thing. He is the shooter! Does the defendant have anything to say to this? He's clammed up, Apollo. Let's ask Mr. Justice. Will you require any further testimony from the witness? Is that it? Is there nothing else I can get him to testify about? Wait, no, of course there is! What is this cocoon, anyway? The cocoon, the silk, is a potent cure. A cure? Well, Maki, are you a smuggler? He won't tell me. That cocoon has to have something to do with this. Maki, please, tell us the truth for your own sake. No, no more speak. Not to any of you. So much for your precious trust, Air Forehead. Hey, you were the one who didn't believe him. Regardless, this brings us to an impasse. It does seem that the defense and defendant are at odds. I doubt we are likely to learn anything more of value should this continue. I see no other course but to declare a 5-minute recess. The defense will work things out with the defendant so that we might proceed. July 10th, 11:23 a.m., District Court, Defendant, Lobby Number 2. Apollo Justice. That's justice. Better learn how to say it if you ever want to get some. Believe. I know shooting. Maki claims Mr. Latus was already down on the ground when he entered the room. Maybe it was a trap and he walked right into it? Suddenly, I hear revolver. Close. Very close. Then I hear a voice. You heard gunshots? Yes, it's true. I hear revolver, but only sound. Wait, you're saying you went into the dressing room and found Mr. Latus already dead, and then you heard shots? If that's true... So, you were at the scene of the crime when you heard those shots? And you escaped through the air vent? I know. What do you know? I know if I open vent, I can leave stage and backstage. So the vents went to the both stage and the backstage area? Is that what he means? Hey, he's right! Look, Apollo! Huh, yeah. How did you know it was connected like that? Wait, I bet his father was the architect that designed the hall or something. I hear this from Magician. Magician? Don't look at me! A magician, huh? Well, at least we're clear on one thing. Maki didn't shoot Mr. Latus. Yeah, but what does that leave us with? We're supposed to say he went into the room to find the body and then he heard the shots? That one's going to go over well in court. Not. Apollo, you're his defense. You're supposed to believe whatever he says, even lies. That's what Daddy always told me. I'll just pretend you misheard him. Every time. So, what do we do? You're sure you won't testify, Maki? No talking. No. Well, it was worth a shot. That cocoon. I can't go home. Can't go home? I can't go home to Virginia. I do not want to go home. The penalty for taking a cocoon from Virginia is death. That's right. It's punishable by death. Of course, he's scared. Oh well, I guess we'll just have to try a different approach. That's the spirit, Apollo, so what's your plan? If Maki won't testify about it, we'll have to get someone else to testify. Someone else? I think we're out of time. Let's get back in there. Right! July 10th, 11:28 a.m., District Court, Courtroom Number 3. Court is now back in session. Mr. Justice, have you sorted things out with the defendant? Yes, Your Honor. We had a good talk. Very well. So will he testify? Your Honor, the defendant will not testify. What? Shame. Here I thought this was your big chance to turn the case around. Actually, it is. The defense would like to approach this case from a different angle, Your Honor. A different angle? If Maki won't testify, then I know who will. I would like to cross-examine the witness in this case. Let me roar! Let me roar! What are you up to now? I thought we determined yesterday that Lamirora's testimony was insubstantial. There's nothing you can... Lamirora was taken to the hospital yesterday with injuries. What happened? She was assaulted, Your Honor. Assaulted?! Someone wanted Lamirora dead. Thankfully, she was able to save herself. What? I've heard no such report! Prosecutor Gavin. Why would anyone be out to kill Lamirora? Can you think of a reason? Well, Think of how she is known in our country. A singer from overseas who doesn't speak English, yes? Yet someone tried to keep her mouth shut. Who could that have been? You don't think? I do. It was the same person who shot Mr. Latouche. The killer was afraid of her, afraid of what she might say. The defense believes that something was hidden in her testimony yesterday. Something that the killer doesn't want getting out. So, am I to understand that this is what you are saying? Namely, that there is a nugget of truth in LaMirore's testimony? A nugget we have yet to uncover? Exactly. And LaMirore was attacked. This has serious implications. Very well. There were some vague points in her testimony during yesterday's trial. Perhaps we did not inquire as deeply as we might have into some. The court will hear LaMirore's testimony once more. LaMirore, I must apologize. We must ask you to stand again and speak. You need not apologize. I know that Maki is innocent, and I will do all that I can until the court realizes this. Let's review your testimony from yesterday. You told us you heard 2 gunshots and the shooter's voice through the window, and that the voice belonged to Darien Crescent, yes? That is correct. At which point I proved she could not be correct. She couldn't have heard any of those things. The small window at the scene was closed, and was found to be quite soundproof. You have nothing to say to that, Mr. Justice? I don't know exactly what yet, but I do know there's something there. There is, it seems, much you do not know. And yet it is my duty to hear him out. Perhaps the witness would be so kind as to testify once more to the court. Of course, Your Honor. What I heard. I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. That's when I heard them, Mr. Latouche and the detective. I heard the faint sound of a gunshot and stopped. Then I heard another gunshot. There was the smell of gunpowder. I knew I must tell someone, but I was in a hurry, so I kept moving past the small window. Pretty much the same as yesterday's testimony. I am sorry. I am not used to speaking much in this language. Perhaps my descriptions are lacking in some way. Yet everything I have said here is the truth. Then it is my distinct displeasure to say this. What you have said to have happened is impossible. Do I have to repeat myself? LaMirore was attacked because of this testimony. What? Trucy? Apollo, you know, for a moment there, you were pretty cool. Maybe I do better when I don't try to think ahead. Very well, Mr. Justice. Perhaps you could coolly cross-examine the witness. You heard them, Mr. Latouche and the detective. Hold it! Darien Crescent? I did not know his name at the time. But yes, it was him, the one who took the stand yesterday. How many times do I need to remind you that's impossible? There's no way you could have heard him. Because the window at the scene was closed? Is that why? Of course. Apollo, if we keep asking the same questions as yesterday, we won't get anywhere. She's right. Maybe there's a different angle I could try. What were they talking about? LaMirore, do you by any chance remember what they were saying to each other? If so, please tell us. I have given it much reflection, but I was afraid of this. She doesn't remember. I only heard one phrase clearly. A whole phrase? You remember something that was said? Why didn't you say anything yesterday? Though my memory is clear, I was afraid to speak. You see, I do not understand what was said. This could be it, the clue I've been waiting for. Well, what did he say? It was the other man speaking, not Mr. Latouche. The shooter, then. Darien Crescent. Well, what did he say? It's over. Press the switch, now. Switch? And the shooter said this to the victim, Mr. Latouche? I thought it quite strange myself afterward. It is a mystery. What could it possibly mean? Mr. Justice, care to shed some light on this? I mean, sure. I'd be delighted. It's, very, very vital. Maybe we could add that to the testimony. Maybe, Apollo? Objection! Press the switch. There's only one key that can unlock the mystery of those words. Oh? Yet there was nothing at the scene that could be called a switch, save the lights. True, there wasn't a switch at the scene. But it just so happens, I have a switch right here. That certainly does look like a switch, doesn't it? The problem is, this was found not at the scene of the crime, but on the stage. The stage? Where the concert was held, yes. This was found hidden there, on the stage. Are you claiming that the voice Let-Me-Roar heard was of someone commanding another to press this switch? It's a possibility.
Objection!
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'd call that an impossibility. Why? It's hardly necessary for me to remind the court of the layout of the concert forum. The stage is quite far from Let-Me-Roar's dressing room. Not to mention that the Gavineers were in the middle of a concert on said stage. You aren't known for being a quiet man. You could shout all you wanted and not be heard. The detective's voice was loud, but certainly not a shout. So too have Herr Forehead's cries of possibility fallen far short of being heard. Sorry, but he wouldn't have needed to shout. Excuse me? You heard what I said. Or do you mean me to shout it out for you? It would have been quite simple to be heard on the stage from that dressing room. Oh wait, you like evidence, don't you? How about this? Using this, it would be easy to get a message to someone on the stage from the dressing room. The headset. Prosecutor Gavin, perhaps you're familiar with this. Why that's... What is it? Is that some kind of newfangled phone they invented while I wasn't looking? This is a type of transmitter, a communications device. Communications? Device? From what I've heard that night, everyone on stage was wearing one of these. Isn't that right, Prosecutor Gavin? Yes, actually. They're for talking between band members. We all had one on. So you admit that if you were wearing one of these, talking from the backstage to the stage would be simple.
Objection!
True, but wait. Those send out an electronic signal. To avoid interference with the audio systems, their range is quite limited. Let-Me-Roar said it was about 30 feet, right? Look at this cross-section diagram of the concert forum. Ah! Exactly. The walk from the stage to the backstage seems far. The correct distance is less than 30 feet. That can't be! So when Let-Me-Roar heard the shooter's voice, he could have been talking to someone on stage!
Objection!
Ha! You're claiming this is the switch in question? Why did it have to be on stage at the time? It could be placed in a pocket and carried anywhere. Someone could have hit it on the stage after the fact. Hey, he's got a point. How do we know where it was when she heard the voice? When the shooter said, press the switch. Well, I guess we don't. An unfortunate situation. I'm afraid that until we know where this switch was, there's little point in debating it. Ugh! I was sure this was the way to go with this. What is this switch, anyway? You don't even know that basic fact. Wait a second. I do know what this switch is. And if you follow that train of logic to its incredible conclusion, it ends up in proof that completely changes this case. What's up, Apollo? Apollo? We know about this switch, right? We know what it is. Yeah? Well, think of when it was used that day. Think of what happened. Well, Mr. Justice, you have no further information to share concerning this switch. Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Justice? I've been remiss in not telling the court this before. I know what this switch is. Well, it seems the defense is set upon linking this switch to the case. Let's see your evidence of the link. What evidence do you have to explain what this switch is?
Take that!
Prosecutor Gavin, you remember this. Ah! That's that! That what? Is it another one of those newfangled phones? This is an igniter. What phone looks like this? Igniter? You mean a slider lighter? Yes, actually. You aren't saying this switch is a remote? I am. This is a remote trigger for an igniter. What? Look, I'll show you. Yo, 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 yo! Mr. Justice, you will cease and desist from burning down this courtroom! Sorry, that was a bit more fire than I expected. My whiskers had caught on fire. Prosecutor Gavin, let me repeat myself. This switch is a remote igniter trigger. Doesn't that suggest something to you? You're talking about what happened to me, aren't you? Ah, exactly. That night at the concert, there was one unusual burst of flame. When your guitar caught fire in the middle of your performance. Wasn't that part of the stage show, though? Prosecutor Gavin was entirely unaware such a thing had been planned, and the guitar that burned was a valuable keepsake. That's right, he got it in Borginia from Let-Me-Roar. He said the sound was amazing, before it burned, of course. Now it just kind of smokes. The better the guitar, the brighter it burns. Their forehead! Yes? Don't tell me you're trying to tie these two things together. Those being the shooter's voice heard by Mother-Noroi, and the guitar suddenly catching on fire. I am. It's really simple when you think about it. Mr. Latouche and the shooter were at the crime scene. The shooter was wearing a headset. He ordered someone on stage to press the switch. The switch was pressed, and the guitar caught fire. Well, that does seem to make sense. Though something about it is bugging me. Can't quite put my finger on it. Really? It seems pretty simple to me.
Objection!
Their forehead. Don't destroy what little respect I have for you. I was expecting something a little more sensible. I guess I was wrong. What's this all about, Prosecutor Gavin? His simple story simply makes no sense. Think, that night my guitar caught fire, yes. The cause may have been this indeed. However, the guitar caught fire during the second set. Ah, that's right, of course! The guitar caught fire during Mother-Noroi's song. Indeed, yet the shooting happened during the third set. The two are utterly unrelated. Yes, that must have been what was bugging me. The whole premise for this is faulty. See, his story makes no sense. Are you sure about that? What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice? Maybe it's not the premise for my explanation of the switch that's at fault. Maybe it's our premise for the entire case so far. What premise is this specifically? I'm glad you asked. I'm saying that maybe the killing didn't take place in the third act. What's this? But Detective Emma Sky heard shots and found the body. All of this happened in the third act. Gunshots rang out, and according to his testimony, Maki was in that dressing room at the time. Where are you going with this, Mr. Justice? Stay with me, Your Honor. He also told us this in his testimony, namely, that the victim had already been shot. We all heard gunshots, but no one saw the shooting. This is insane! Just before the shooting took place, the shooter was heard on his headset, telling someone to press the switch. The next moment, Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flame. We know that a remote-triggered igniter was inside the guitar. From all these facts, we could draw only one conclusion. The crime did not take place during the third act, but during the ballad performance, the second act. What?! Order! 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 But that goes against the evidence! What does, Your Honor? This crime was carried out according to the lyrics of that song, yes? Hey, he's right. Look! The bullet is supposed to come after the fire. You're thinking about it the wrong way. Huh? Look! It's an awful lot of trouble to go through, with little merit for the person doing it. Well, I'm sure whoever it was had some reason. Yes, they did. A reason that made it advantageous to follow the lyrics. You're saying the order was reversed on purpose? Reversed, Prosecutor Gavin. If the criminal followed the lyrics strictly, then yes, the shooting would have had to come after the guitar burst into flame. Yet Air Forehead has raised another possibility. He's claiming that the bullet came not after, but just before the fire. Couldn't have put it better myself. We were only meant to think that the shooting came after the guitar burst into flame. That was the criminal's objective. The crime followed the lyrics to a point, but that was the ruse. Why else would the killer risk discovery by moving the body? That was the final touch to make us think he'd followed the lyrics the whole way. Order! 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 That would explain this most unusual situation. It does. The killer changed the order of events to create himself an alibi. In other words, the killer was someone who had an alibi for the third set, but not the second. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but sadly it has. Let me tell you why your little fairy tale makes no sense at all. Oh, it sounds good, I'll give you that. You've given us a reason why the killer bothered following the lyrics of my song, but I question your logic, for it's flawed from the very beginning. Flawed? Yes, a contradiction there, Forehead. One I've pointed out several times, no less. At the time of the crime, the small window at the scene was closed. How could Mother-Noroi have heard a voice through it? Oh, I know that you would like to divert our attention from this critical fact, but you're basing your entire line of reasoning on a false premise. Right. Mother-Noroi's testimony is my entire case. That voice she heard, the shooter's voice. But what if she couldn't hear it, Apollo? Look, what do we have? A man saying press the switch. And near the crime scene, we have a switch, which acts as a remote trigger for an igniter. And last but not least, Prosecutor Gavin's flaming guitar. It can't all be coincidence. How do I make it work? I see a more direct line of questioning is required. When the crime scene was investigated, immediately after the crime, that window was closed. Care to tell us how Lammermoor heard the voice? A key point, to be sure. Mr. Justice, can you explain this to the court? Okay, Justice, you've got one thing to prove and one thing only. Lammermoor heard a voice, and she heard it during the second set. Think, how was Lammermoor able to hear the voice? She was somewhere else. When we investigated the scene, the window was closed. The shooter had no reason to close it, but it hadn't been open either, meaning it was impossible to hear the voice through that window. Ah, it's good to hear you making sense again. For a moment, I was afraid you might be a Borginian too. As I was saying, Lammermoor could not hear the voice through that window, so there can only be one explanation. She heard the voice from another location entirely. What's this? You do amuse me so. And here I thought you in good sense were back on speaking terms. Now I'm afraid you in good sense speak two entirely different languages. Shall I interpret for you, Forehead? Lammermoor clearly stated she heard the voice through that small window. There is only one small window at the scene. Are you sure? Think about it. Isn't there another small window at the scene? But there is? Ah, I know that look. He wants us to ask him. Very well, you claim Lammermoor heard the voice from another location. Mr. Justice, show us where this location was. Lammermoor heard the voice from here. Does this look like a small window to you, Mr. Justice? The state of modern society can be read from numerous objects and artifacts. In a sense, anything can be a window on our society. I didn't ask you to point out a window on society. I want a window on the crime scene. Oh. No points for trying. What? Lammermoor claims she heard the small voice through a small window. And if the small window we know about was closed, there's only one other thing she could have meant. Oh! Take that! This is where Lammermoor heard that voice from. But that's no small window! That's the air vent! What does she tell us? She says she's a Borginian, unfamiliar with our language. It's not a stretch to imagine she called this air vent a small window. Now you've done it. You've gone beyond ridiculous and into ludicrous. So Lammermoor was up in the ventilation system listening to this man's voice? That's the only logical explanation, yes. Logical? I do not think this word means what you think it means, Air Forehead. Okay, what about it isn't logical? Ha! It hardly merits saying! Why would Lammermoor be in the ventilation system? Hiding like a rat! No offense intended to her, of course. The explanation for that is simple, Prosecutor Gavin. Isn't it, Lammermoor? You have been listening to our discussion here, yes? Yes. I admit it's had me quite confused since yesterday. Yes, the small window was closed. But why should that mean I could not hear through it? I feared our prosecutor might himself need an interpreter. Ah! The problem here is words. Lammermoor, the small window through which you heard the voice, was it up high on the ceiling of the room, not low on a wall? Yes, it was up on the ceiling. What?! Order! Order! I will have order! Witness, you will clarify this statement to the court. Are you in fact saying you were up above the ceiling of the room? And that's where you heard the moment of the crime? Yes, in fact I was. I am sorry, I never imagined it would become such an important point. Yes, well, why the heck were you up there? I believe it's time for another testimony. I'm not sure I can't. May I remind you this is a murder trial. We will hear your testimony. Tell us why you witnessed the crime from above the ceiling of that room. Please. Well, looks like I'm on the right track. Yes, I was above the ceiling when I heard the voice. I had heard there was a small window there before. It was in the middle of my performance. I had no time to report what I had heard. As to why I was there, I cannot say. I am bound to secrecy on this matter. But bound to secrecy? In my line of work, one has many obligations to uphold. but you say you were in the middle of your performance. So this did happen during the SEGA set. I did not witness the crime, you must understand. I only know what I heard. Yes, but you must tell us what you were doing, in detail. That's what the cross-examination is for, yeah, Ed Forehead? Our mission in this court is to discern the truth. No obligation, no binding pact may hinder that mission. Very well. Mr. Justice, you may begin the cross-examination. What are you going to do, Apollo? I'm going to find out the truth. She was up above that ceiling for a reason. I just have to get it out of her. Now this one is pretty easy. 1, 2, 3. This one is very easy. Objection! Nami-Roar, truth be told, the reason for your presence above that ceiling is quite clear, especially when you consider what happened during your performance. What happened? Yes, it's all right here on this video. God, those models are so bad looking. Was clearly not a stage for her entire performance. Ah! Though it saddens me to be so realistic. Nami-Roar is incapable of actually vanishing, let alone teleportation. The only explanation is that she was hidden from view, and during that time she moved to the back of the forum. Apollo! What, Tracy? It's not nice to reveal a magician's secrets. It is against the rules. But I'm a lawyer. I'm not supposed to be nice. This is all very fascinating. How is it possible? There's only 20 seconds between when she disappears and reappears. She couldn't have moved that fast. Is something wrong, Prosecutor Gavin? This was his concert, his show. He knows how the illusion was performed. Aha! He's just realizing his own oversight. Let's look at the cross-section diagram again. Here we can trace a route through the ceiling. It goes from the stage, through the backstage to the rear of the forum. Recall Nami-Roar's testimony from yesterday. I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. There was something like a little window there. That's how I saw it. She went from the stage to the backstage exit. A perfect description of this route above the ceiling! Nami-Roar knew of this because of her part in the illusion, but she wasn't the only one who knew. What? Just now in the lobby, Maki told me something. I know if I open vent, I can leave stage and backstage. He said that? Oh, were you not informed, Prosecutor Gavin? I knew about the Vanishing Act, of course, yet I had no idea of the route that would be used. Why didn't that magician tell me? Magicians only reveal details of their acts on a need-to-know basis. They're the bread and butter of a magician's life, you know, which is why he bound Nami-Roar to secrecy. Well, Nami-Roar, I am impressed, Mr. Attorney. Maki was right about you. So, what does this mean? Are you saying you used this route above the ceiling? I did. Well, that's that, but I'm still a little confused. Why's that, Your Honor? As I said before. There was very little time between when she disappeared and when she reappeared. 20 seconds, tops. How could she do it so fast? Especially if she stopped to hear the shooter's voice. That's a good question. Can the witness explain this to the court? I cannot. Very well. Mr. Justice? Yes? It's all up to you. Do your thing. What thing, Your Honor? You need to explain how Nami-Roar was able to teleport like she did, or I'm throwing your case out with the bathwater. Why do I get picked on? It's Lammermoor who isn't going along with the program here. As I have stated before, I am not at liberty to speak of the illusion at night in detail. Then you'll just have to tell us what you can. We'll hear your testimony on this. Mr. Justice, it will be your job to wring the truth out of her. Yes, if you would, please. Right. I feel like a student before finals. Good luck, Apollo. I followed the route exactly as I was instructed. There is an emergency exit in the backstage where a stagehand waited. From there, one can enter the forum on the opposite side of the stage. The plan was for me to move there in 2 minutes. I was on my way when I heard the voice. 2 minutes, you say? The mystery deepens. I suppose it was too much to hope that the judge would come up with something. As does my curiosity. Take it away, Mr. Justice. Right, Your Honor. All I have to do is find the contradiction between what Lammermoor is saying and what we can see plainly in the video. I figured it out already. I am a magician, after all. Well, tell me. Not a chance. I can't reveal another magician's secrets. Come on. Hey, you're supposed to be on my side here. Well, this one's easy. The answer's right here. Hold it! 2 minutes? Yes, it can be done in 1 minute if you are running. Running? In that cramped, dark tunnel above the ceiling? Mr. Attorney, have you forgotten? Dark or lit, it makes no difference to me. Ah, that's true, but... So you're saying that on the night of the concert, you made the trip in 2 minutes? Yes, though I nearly didn't make it in time. You see, I stopped halfway. Lammermoor disappears on the video for 20 seconds. So she says she made the trip in 2 minutes. How? If you want my professional opinion, I'll bet the answer's right there in that video. Well, Mr. Justice, perhaps you have some evidence for us. Something that can explain the discrepancy between the video and her testimony. Ah! Evidence explaining the discrepancy? Yep. There's one piece of evidence that explains the discrepancy between video and testimony. Her brooch. Take that! Lammermoor, do you happen to remember this brooch? Aha! The brooch! We saw that yesterday, did we not? It was found at the scene, Your Honor. And you're bringing this up now? Why? I thought we had already determined when that was dropped. So did I, but we hadn't. Take another look at the video. Here, you can see she's wearing the brooch. So she is. Let's look a bit later. And she's not wearing it there. What? The brooch is gone! What? Yes. The brooch disappeared in a short space of 20 seconds, and it takes a full minute to run from the stage to the backstage. Which means there can be only one explanation. The Lammermoor we see before the Vanishing Act and the Lammermoor we see after are 2 different people! What? What? The brooch was found on the floor at the crime scene. And not just on the floor, but on the floor directly beneath the air vent. Lammermoor, tell me, did you drop the brooch on your way from the stage to the backstage at the very moment you witnessed the crime? Yes, I think I did. Order! Prosecutor Gavin! From your expression, I gather you had no idea this was the case there, Judge. I, of course, knew about it. What? Don't get me wrong, I wasn't hiding it. It just never occurred to me that the switch and the shooting took place at the same time. So, I was right? There was a switch? There was. Just before the stage's tower rose, Lammermoor was replaced. While we're on the subject, just who was this replacement Lammermoor? Why, the man behind the illusion. Valet Grimari. It was Grimari? That's quite the illusion, but I still don't get one thing. Yes? The switch happened before the tower rose, correct? So you weren't on the stage. That's right. But this fake Lammermoor is still singing. And she's pretty good. That's true. Come on, Apollo, that's an easy one. They were just playing a recording. The Gaviniers aren't some kind of air guitar band for all I... Oh, you mean I'm wrong? When we play a show live, we play live. No recordings. Perhaps you could explain, Lammeror. Very well. Yes, do tell, and add it to your testimony. I had to keep singing, even while I moved.
Hold it!
You were singing? Yes. Mr. Gavin expressed a dislike for recordings, so I used this. Wait, so you were singing the whole time? Even when you were crawling above the ceiling toward the backstage? Why should it matter where I sing, when everywhere I go is the same darkness? But if you were singing while you were walking... That's right, wouldn't the shooter and victim have heard? She was singing right over their heads, after all. That is right. Are you sure? You'd have to be pretty hard of hearing to miss someone singing in the ceiling. Once again, we come back to the stage of the scene of the crime. What stage? Ah, I know what he means. That old speaker, Apollo. The speaker? That speaker was blaring at the time of the murder. That's for the monitoring the stage from this room. Monitoring? It pipes in a real-time feed from the stage microphones, useful for knowing when your set is coming out. Satisfied? That dressing room was fitted with a large speaker playing for a direct feed from the stage, at my request, actually. So Lammeror singing in the ceiling sounded just like Lammeror singing over the speaker. Ingenious! Her voice was hidden by her voice! Lammeror? I have just remembered something. Do tell. When I heard the noise, the gunshots, yes, it startled me, so I stopped singing. What? I forgot the words I was supposed to sing. The song stopped? Thankfully, it was the very beginning of the second verse, so not many would notice. Forehead! That mixing board I lent you. Where is it? The mixing? Huh? That machine, Apollo. The one that breaks music into tracks. Oh, this! I'd completely forgotten about it. Let's take a listen. The song does stop there! It does? I must have missed it. Look at the lyrics sheet at the top of the second verse. See where it says pleasure, pleasure? Now listen again. She didn't say pleasure twice. This is evidence indeed. I believe we are guilty of making a terrible mistake. The crime didn't happen during the third set. It happened during the second, during Lammeror's ballad. If that is true, then no one on stage during the second set could have been a shooter, which means that Darian Crescent could have done it. He wasn't on stage for the second set. Well, Prosecutor Gavin? Fascinating. I don't believe I've ever seen a trial turned around quite so thoroughly. Yet one problem remains. What's that, Prosecutor Gavin? And Forehead's theory does have a certain kind of logic to it. Yet it is entirely based upon Lammeror's testimony. Yes, is there a problem with this? Well, it's quite simple, though it pains me to say it. What if she is lying to protect the defendant? But you have no proof! All I'm saying is that the truth is as yet unclear, until we hear directly from the man himself. The man? You don't mean! Yes. Though he is a friend and band member, Darian Crescent must take the stand. I see no other way. As someone with a new perspective on the case, as a suspect, to be frank. Finally! The rat's coming out of his hole, and I'm ready to catch him. Darian Crescent, get ready for justice! This is as good a time as any to pause for a brief recess. The prosecution will summon the witness. Have him here and ready by the time we begin. I'm the last man who needs to be reminded of what his duties are. Very well, court is adjourned for a 15-minute recess. Damn, I actually forgot that there was 3 parts to this trial. So you know what? How long have I been recording? An hour? Yeah, this is a good place to stop. So I'm going to end the live stream here by saying thank you all for watching, and as always, is your host, TheAmariaShadow, saying Alon Z, and I'll see you for the next adventure. Goodbye, everyone!